Hello, welcome to our Information for Transformation podcast today. And well, we just start to unpack things as we go. And today there's a lot that we want to bring up about incongruencies within people, couples, relationships, families mainly, because well, in our practice, Bobby and I work together and we see lots of people and we get the breakdown of one person will be on board with a lot of things and somebody else isn't. Now, it might be within their family itself, it may be extended family when they go to see family, see reunions. It might be something, really close, father, daughter, mother, father. Um, and then within the family itself, there's lots of different dynamics with people and the incongruencies that we hold as people and the different things that we go through in life. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about the emotions and how all that works. So we are Two Bros Healing, and we have what we'll put up our websites near the end, but we want to inform and give people a lot of truth, a lot of information, and educate as we go along, because it's one thing to just clear up and shine the light, but we have to sometimes educate, or I should say all the time, and fill in the blanks of why we need to change or do things. And then especially when we're working with people that we're coming up against different situations. And unless you have something at the moment, Bobby, do you
Go
want me
ahead.
to
Go
share?
ahead.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. I got a few things to just share with you. Um, Basically, I have here just a little bit you can follow along. When we have lots of different dynamics of people. We have a lot of people that are concerned about their health and about the different condition of things, and then other people who could care less. We have people that take on extra responsibilities for their health, and others don't. There's, family members. This is where we see the problem is that when people are not responsible for their health condition, then it starts to affect other family members by their poor choices. And then I think the people that um, tried to say something, tried to do something, then they get interbulated, the emotions get embroiled, and then there's a whole shift in a lot of that dynamics. So that's what we want to talk about today. That being said, I would have to definitely say that the medical model in today's world is very fierce. It continually, creates a revolving door that can be answered everything by big pharma, and it's creating problems. And they have such an unrelenting ability to scare people, to take any little thing and just scare the bejesus out of people and create fear. And one little thing they're jumping on you. Well, you got to go with this. You got to see this person. You got to go here. You got to go to see this specialist. You have to go to the walk-in clinic. You've got to get this. You got to schedule right away. Time's ticking. And in my view, I mean, I've been a clinician over 40 years and working with people almost every day, all the situations, all of their family, all of the ups and downs, the whole emotional gamut of everything that somebody goes through. And if you care about your patients, if you care about people, you'll understand and listen to them and understand where they're at and see the incongruencies and the frustration that people get. And these are just a few of these that I put in here. Some things just as simple as like you have high blood pressure. And it may not be true, totally high blood pressure. It's like if I go up and down my stairs, or if I go run around outside and come in and then take my blood pressure, it's going to be high. If I think about something that's making me very upset, if I get in my car and I'm barreling down the road and I go to a doctor's office and I'm waiting and then I get pushed in and then I get my blood pressure taken, it's going to be high. Even if you take the second and third reading, I think it's going to be artificially high. Nonetheless, let's say that's not true. Let's say you take yours at home and it is legitimately high. You start talking to family members and then everybody's rushing. Oh, you better get on your high blood pressure medicine. You want to get on lisinopril. And they just push you and they make they uh, cave into your fear, or help you cave into the fear. Um, but maybe you really want to ask, well, why is it high and what can I do about it? Is it a deficiency of lisinopril that I haven't had my whole life that's making my blood pressure high? I don't think so. So that's one thing. What about an infected tooth and you're being pushed toward getting a root canal? It's like that's the only option. You might want another opinion, and you might want to explore other options. Or maybe your family member has to, has a bad tooth and they have to have it, and they don't want to hear any other options. Okay, these are some of the things that we deal with and we see people. What about like you have had cataracts, and maybe now you're being pushed toward lens replacements. I mean, years ago, some of the cataract surgeries weren't so bad, but now they want to replace the lens, and that's a whole artificial problem, and I think we've talked about it in our light video, and if not, we'll talk about it in the future. But now your eye doesn't have the ability to do a lot of things, and it can't convert the different light frequencies in our eyes. There's so many, many, many things. But maybe you've heard about Dr. Brian Ardis's cataract protocol and the effect of having lots of bad fats in your diet. Having, when you eat a lot of fried, hard fats, that creates, just think about like varnish, when you have a hard varnish on something, that's very, very hard and it's very difficult to get off soft membranes like your eye. Anyway, there are things to do. There's lots more to do. And that's why, Bobby and I are here to try to give you other things to think about, other things to do that these death scenarios or these different things that they're being pointed aren't the only answer. Another thing, what if you want to ditch the microwave in the house and eat healthy or more organic or local or do better with your food choices? Well, no, now you're called a health nut or a freak or a health freak. It's like, really? This is the stuff we've had to endure, and we still have to endure this crap. Unless we get the right information and can have a little bit of an argument to give back. We don't have to be a doormat, but we don't have to be a jerk either. Maybe you went to a Weston A. Price group dinner. They have local chapters that talk about native fermented foods, grass-fed foods. People make a dish and share it, and then this is how it spreads. Maybe you're all excited, and you want to share this, your new findings about this. Maybe you and your pets are pushed to take flu shots or experimental RNA, and this is coming around again, and other injections. I'm not going to say too much because this is on YouTube, but I think you all know what we're talking about. Um, Maybe you don't like the idea of kids getting over 70, I think it is now, vaccines by the time they're 18. If it's not that, it's something close, horribly. And then all the flu shots that are pushed on the elderly and everybody else. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe you see major harm in wireless technology, all the transmitting devices in our homes. I know all of the things that are just transmitting frequencies all over. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you would rather have hardwired computers or tablets, and learn, and maybe you want to use your technology, your tech stuff more efficiently. Maybe you want to opt out from smart meters and appliances. Maybe you don't want smart appliances. Not only are they spying on you, but they create a lot of bad or harmful electromagnetic fields. So maybe you're questioning these things, all rightly so, and somebody in your home or your family is counter to that, is saying, nah. And what we find is that those people really don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to change. They don't want to take responsibility. Somehow their ability to respond is diminished. And with that, I want to share with you a few things about emotions. We all know that different emotions make us sick and relate to different organs. And we're going to go through a little bit of this today. It's because it's so big, but it's so fascinating. But basically, I want to give you a few things to think about here. Our stomach is after we smell and chew and taste the food, it's like one of the first places that interfaces with the food. And if we're in an
We locked up. No, we're locked up. You froze. Okay, I don't know if y'all can hear me, but we're having
Yes, we can
technical
hear you.
difficulties.
We can hear you, Robert.
Okay. Um, yeah, so let me just adjust something here. And yeah, family is really hard to help if you're trying to share information about anything. It seems they you'll get the crossed arms and the pushback. They'll listen to the expert from out of town with the briefcase saying the same thing, but they won't listen to what you're saying. So there's these strange dynamics within families where it's really hard, even though you love them and you've researched something extremely well or you're extremely experienced in something, and they push back. Now, anyone, if you present unsolicited advice, they're going to interpret it as an attack. And it took me decades to learn that. Like you want to help people and you know, like just do this and this is going to help you. But they don't do it. Family doesn't do it. So they cross their arms and cross their mind and they don't want to hear it. So you got to talk about someone else, make a story about someone else, the same thing, and they'll listen. Or if you talk to someone else about them, they'll listen more than if you talk directly to them about it. So you have to use coyote medicine, we call it, kind of where you trick people into helping themselves. But it's really hard with family. So, um, yeah. Are you back, Carrie?
Yeah, I'm back. Let
All
me
right.
go ahead and share my screen again. Okay, I think there. Sorry about that. So, just talking about emotions and how they affect us, and the first place that we find a big problem is the stomach, because you're in fight or flight and then you're trying to eat, and then your stomach, when you're in fight or flight, your body wants to run or get away from some kind of danger, and then if you're trying to eat, then your stomach can't quite do its job, so we're going to have huge problems with indigestion, where people are worried, they're upset, and their stomachs can't do its initial job. It can't break the food down into smaller particles to then be deposited into the small intestine, where it can start to be dissolved into finer particles and then be absorbed into the system.
And
So
let me just add that when you're in sympathetic dominance, fight or flight, survival mode, the parasympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system, the automatic nervous system, gets that breaker trips. It gets turned off and sympathetic takes over. Now, when you turn off the parasympathetic breaker, you can't digest or eliminate. Your immune system is put on hold and your endocrine system is put on hold. So none of that is working when you're under stress.
I'm done with them.
So
You can take them.
go ahead.
so stomach, yeah, the first place that if you're in a sympathetic dominant, which usually we are, if we're in our Wi-Fi laden environment, then we are in some variety of sympathetic dominance. So stomach doesn't get to do its job very well. And I think we'll show you in a little bit. I think Robbie has some slides he's going to show you or talk about, but we find that there's the relationships, the organ relationships, according to Oriental Chinese medicine, that are very old, the emotions and the organs. But then also, if you study applied kinesiology, you will also find that the organs have muscle relationships too.
Let me
So
show
this is,
that.
yeah, this is very interesting, because when as a practitioner like we are, people come in with complaints. They say, oh, I've got TMJ stuff, or oh, my neck, or oh, my arm, or my hand. I am automatically going to think stomach. Bobby's going to show you some pictures in a minute, or anything in the mouth. Because that's one of the first places of problems, and it has so many muscles associated with it. But you can see some of the other organs here while you're getting that ready. Just go ahead and show that whenever
You
you're
have
ready.
to stop sharing so I can share.
Okay. All right. So here you go.
All right, let me set mine up real quick.
So you'll see how many muscles, or a lot of the muscles that are related to the stomach and the meridian. Well, which I'll
Okay,
come back
this
to
is
in a bit.
showing the stomach meridian, and it's only showing it on one side of the body. It actually is on both sides, but you can see it starts right under the eye. That's stomach 1, and it ends down at the stomach 45 at the bottom of the second toe. And then there's internal branches. So it's a long meridian, and it has every skeletal muscle is related to a acupuncture meridian system. And so all of these muscles are related to stomach. These are all cervical muscles in your neck, and then shoulder, right? All the way down to your hand, the whole cervical brachial area, right? All related to stomach. And there's more. All the muscles of mastication,
Chewing.
chew with, are all on the stomach meridian. So here's where a lot of your TMJ problems come from, and
Headaches.
craniosacral faults, things like that. And it can also affect dentition, your bite. It can affect a lot of things. So that's just one meridian. It has a lot of muscles, but also, let me just click this. Can you still see?
Yes, the tooth chart.
Yeah.
Yep.
Each tooth, and in embryology, the lower third of the face, that's what develops first, the mouth, and then the rest of the body develops after that. So there's connections. You could say the mouth is wired, or the whole body is wired to the mouth, or there's connections there. So you can see these teeth. This is like someone was looking at you with their mouth open. The upper right is tooth 1. That's your third molar or wisdom tooth.
Go around.
The red teeth are all on the fire meridians. They've got the heart, small intestine, triple warmer, and circulation sex meridians. So any problem going on in the mouth can feed back to the associated organ, or vice versa. Associated organ can feed back to the teeth. So in regard to the stomach, you look at the yellow teeth, the upper first and second molars, and the lower premolars are stomach and spleen, and stomach and pancreas. Every tooth has at least 2 meridians, but the wisdom teeth, the third molars, have 4 connected. So you have to address all this when you're dealing with people with difficult healthcare challenges.
Right.
It tends to get overlooked.
Yeah. So you can see how things start to connect all the way around the body. We can have, situation where you're not digesting. Now we have some, the stomach can't digest and do its job. We have anxiety and worry with that. Then we start getting maybe TMJ problems or headaches, or maybe your elbow goes out of place, or your shoulder goes out of place, or your upper part of your or your thoracic, your upper back goes out of place. Those are all could be related to stomach related problems. So each area
Digestion in general.
yeah, digestion in general. So each organ, and we picked just several of them here just to show you that there's some overlap with emotions. The heart, we've got emotional trauma, deep hurt, or joy. Sometimes things, we have increasing heart rate, blood pressure, there's palpitations, cardiovascular strain, and especially with a lot of the different medical big pharma interventions that we've had forced down our arms in the last several years could be leading to a lot of heart traumas.
Heart rate variability is
Yeah.
something you can measure too, that is interesting.
Right. Liver, things get, when your body can't detoxify, things get caught, toxins can't be released and they get stuck there and you get angry. People get a lot of anger issues, frustration, resentment, liver, gallbladder kind of live together. So that it creates a lot of those underlying stressful anger, frustration problems. Lungs, more grief, sadness, loss, letting go. When we're crying or grieving, it backs up into that area and we get those big, heavy sighs. Like when you've heard people when they're upset, like, those big sighs or no, and these, emotional expressions, it releases. Kidneys, when people say, "Oh, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that," or I'm worried, afraid. There's a lot of insecurities with survival and stress and exhaustion with kidneys. Spleen, overthinking, ruminating, obsessing, feeling stuck. Bladder could be more tension, irritation. When you get pissed off at things, some things you just can't quite say. You're biting your tongue, you're holding it in, and then it spills over in these different organs. Intestines, you can't let go, or sometimes let go too much. Pancreas, low self-esteem, or being overwhelmed. So these are just broad sections. There's a lot more on this, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of thinking how these things can settle in different organs. So we can, as Robert mentioned, we can go both ways with things. If you're finding that you maybe have some negative emotions, you can go work on that organ. You can, first of all, if nothing else, love that organ. Say you're sad. Um, you can just give love to your lungs. You can think about all the stuff that they do and give great appreciation. If your bladder is not doing real well, if it's distended or dropped, you can be thankful for the fact that you can hold urine and dispel it, that you have that ability. So getting back to some sort of a gratitude is another way to turn it around when we're experiencing the emotion until we can work on it more. Maybe different nutrition, maybe different foods will definitely change that pattern. All right, just a little bit of, I thought is interesting, and we're not going to go into this too deep today, but we're going to hit some things in the future when we talk about kinesiology. But there's some differences between yin organs and yang organs. And basically, we have solid organs and hollow organs, and they're paired. You will find like lung and large intestine together, stomach, spleen, heart, small intestine, kidney, bladder, pericardium and the heart are triple energizers. So
They're joined by elements.
yeah, and then liver, gallbladder. But let me just mention one thing that we see a lot, especially when people start getting sick around holidays or in the wintertime when there's more stress. Your body has to, your immune system has to adapt to colder weather. And in warmer climates, we don't have it as bad, but still temperature swings. But the body has to create more heat to stay warm in the winter. So then the indoor environment changes. We have dry heat blowing and that dries out sinuses. A lot of times the mucous membranes start getting dry. Maybe the whole respiratory tract is irritated. So we can have that whole dryness, and then we're starting to say maybe experience constipation on that other end. Or we could have the whole, like when you start feeling sick and you get coughing and drip down your throat, and the whole trying to expel all of that out of the lungs would be really well if you worked on the large intestine at the same time. A lot of people don't think that. So if you went and did some home enemas or colonics or did something to cleanse the large intestine, the lungs would get better. All the congestion and all the phlegm and all the green mucus and all the stuff you're coughing and spitting out would get better by cleaning the large bowel. So this is how these paired organs work in the body. I think it's fascinating. All right, a couple of things I want to talk also about is emotional code and EFT tapping. We'll talk about that in a second, but Bobby showed one of the meridians. This is just a real quick little picture of kind of a cartoonish picture of how the meridians work down the body. And the dotted lines are when they go internal, and the solid lines are when they're external. And these are by color, which is the elements associated with these organs. But what I wanted you to notice is like there's start points, and then there'll be stop points. So just look at the face, because we're going to come back to this in a minute. And this is just a few of them here. Look at this blue one. You see that it starts like under the eye. Another, look at this red one, starts on the corner of the eye. All right, so just notice that. Let's see if I think that's, yeah, okay, here we go, a little bit better. These are the stomach. So look at the stomach here, right under the eye. And when we get into looking at some of the tapping, these tapping for emotional freedom technique is what it's called, where we tap on these meridian points with some different things in mind. Let me see if there's anything else on this. Okay, so when I stop share this one, and then one more share. There it is. Okay. So looking at emotions, this one is from The Emotional Code. This is a book. There's a lot of good things in this book. I've read it years ago, but there's a lot of things that help address emotions and how to get them out, how to quell them. But one of the things I thought was cool about this website and this picture here, you could see on the right is there's like a little bit of a color code on emotions. And this is the actual, says hertz on top. So enlightenment is like 700 plus hertz, peace around 600, joy around 540. And what is the 528, the DNA repair, love, it's right in this area, right in here. And we can see as we go down, in frequency, we go into lower emotions.
You're going down tone.
Downtown, the
And when you go up in
Scientologist,
frequency, you're going up tone.
Scientology has a great emotional
Correlation.
tone code correlation, where you can have that spelled out really well. So this is the only second place that I've seen. Well, no, there was also, who's the guy that wrote Power versus Force? Hawkins?
Yeah.
David
Hawkins.
David
Or
Hawkins.
no,
Yeah.
it's
That's Steve. What's his name?
well, what's his name? Never
Yes,
forget
David
him.
Hawkins, Power versus Force, where he talks about muscle testing with a lot of other different things,
David
but
Hawkins.
he will give you some value of emotions. So, but it's definitely a something to reckon with. And this brings me back to a little bit of one thing that we really like with our Two Bros Healing is helping people create their healing home sanctuary. You have to have a place at home to heal, to get away from the different stresses. So when you're not feeling well, you have a place to go seek refuge, that you can go, chill, put a bandage on, get warmed and cozy, put on, get under some red light, get under, your infrared light, get on your grounding pad, get one of our Two Bros, sound tables or frequency recliners, and put these on your bodies. Share these things with your whole body and whole system. And there's so many things for healing nowadays. Let's see, what else do I want to show you on this one? Okay, that was that. And then I think I have one more share. And let's see. Okay,
Real quick, here's that book, Power versus Force.
thank you.
David Hawkins. You want to check that out? He's got several others in the series. Very insightful.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, and then I have one more thing here. Back to this one. All right, so then there's also a gentleman named Brad Yates, called Tapping with Brad, and he's on YouTube. And basically, he's got a ton of tapping videos on all sorts of things. But basically, what he's doing is tapping. Let me get my other one. Tapping these entry and exit points. And saying certain things like I'm not going to be bothered by this anymore. And then you're touching and you're tapping these points. Let me find another picture and I can show it to you real quick. There we go. All righty. Last one. maybe. Hey, do I have it or not yet? No.
Not yet.
All right, hold on. There it is. Okay. Nope, 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 nope. Sorry, I already showed you that one.
Started screen sharing.
Bear with me. I got too many windows open. There it is. Okay. So there's basically certain points which I showed you on that one picture that are at either the beginning or end of certain meridian points. And like I showed you that one that was under the eye, that is the stomach point. But you don't have to know that to do this. We know it as practitioners and we use it on people, but this is a great technique because you can tap these points. I don't know if you can see me, but might be sure. But you tap on those points while you repeat certain phrases that help to bring attention to getting rid of these where these emotions are stuck. Brilliant stuff. But that's all I've got on my end. So bringing my part home, and I think Robbie has to share a few things with you. There's a lot to do and then when you're trapped in something, if you know you can work at yourself, that's the best thing to do is to give yourself more tools and things to not land in frustration, to not bring anger back in. Because you oftentimes won't be able to change that person. You can help share with them. That's the best thing, and just keep at it with integrity and set the example. You know, you may not again be able to affect how somebody eats, but you can set the example, and you can always also be truthful and honest with how you feel. And if somebody's doing things that, you know, it's like, look, if you keep eating like that and doing those things, don't expect me to blah, blah, blah. Or if you do this, then I'm going to do that. You know, there's sometimes these things have to be worked out, and they're unpleasant. But for the most part, there's a lot that you can do for yourself and to share information with your significant family members.
So the best thing you can do, I think, for anyone is set the example yourself. You got to lead from the front. You got to walk the talk. You got to be practicing what you're preaching. And that goes a long way just with anybody, whether they're in your family or not. So as far as working with patients, it might be someone's silicone breast implants are creating really bad health problems for somebody, but their husband doesn't want them removed or something. You know, you get all of these dynamics that are showing up, and it's really difficult to try to counsel them because it's kind of tricky. You know, you don't want to think for them. They've got to work this problem out themselves. But if we have that person there, we can usually talk with them and reason with them, but they can't reason with each other. I hope that makes sense. But if we have that other person there, we can go through what we call our red pill experience, actually show them the effects of noxious substances like their cell phone, Wi-Fi routers, things like that, junk lighting, different foods that they might be reacting to, and they'll get it, but they can't get it from somebody in their family. It's rare, but so it's a challenge, and I wish I had a cut and dry protocol you could follow to deal with that.
I think it's important just that people know that sometimes if you know you feel like you're the only one, or you say, "Oh, my friends are all this one," you know, and it's not. You know, so many people have difficulty. It's like, you know, their daughter won't let them see their grandchild because they won't take a shot. You know, they're maybe against having their child um, get a whole lot of the vaccines before school, and they're not into it. And you know, and there's tension because they don't want, you know, they see the harm and the young parents don't. So then, you know, you have to like keep your mouth shut if you want to see your grandchild. So there's a lot of tension, and I think it's important that people know that there's a lot of other people out there that have that, and sometimes you just have to find that find that out so you don't feel so bad, and then start making ways to bring information, information. And sometimes you have to have the tribe on your side, bring information together, power in numbers. If you're alone dealing with the naysayer, or they think you're crazy because um, maybe you've had to overreact to get your point across through the years, and then now they're discrediting everything you say. So I think the important
Or
thing at
you're a
that point,
nag.
yeah, you may be yeah, near nag. It's like, oh, there she goes again, or there he goes again. Oh, now it's this, now they're look at that. Now they want to not eat gluten. My God, you know. So some of these things
The
are
bottom line,
important.
the bottom line with that is they don't want to take responsibility for their health. And it's the teenager within,
Yep.
call it. So that's what you're dealing with is the belligerent teenager that doesn't want to clean their room or
Right.
you know,
Right.
do their homework.
So it's
So
it's it's nice when people are on the same page about these things, but a lot of times they're not. And I think it's important to just make sure that you don't undermine yourself and give up your integrity just to please somebody else, to keep the
some of the
peace.
some of the people we've worked with in the past, the medical throwaways that have come to us, they've already been given up on by their medical doctors, and so actually it's better in some ways because they're not trying to go and check with their doctor. Is this okay to do? Because they already sent them home to die, and so they'll listen to you more. And then a lot of times people have had to separate from their partners. They had to, you know, they had toxic bosses. They had bad jobs. They have, it's like if you want to change your physical state, you have to address these issues. And so when you get people that are more desperate like that, they'll listen and they'll do things and they get results, even though they've been compromised by the slash burn poison of the medical merry-go-round. They still can recover. The human body is so incredibly resilient. It blows my mind still when I see these cases turn around. So having the experience of seeing this over and over again versus somebody that's never seen that, the kind of natural healing turnaround, it can be difficult to gain their trust and to let go of the old trapeze they were holding on to and go for the new one. But it's something that every person's got to do for themselves. You can't do it for them. It's like nobody can chew for you. Nobody can exercise for you. Nobody can think positive thoughts for you. It's an inside job, and they've got to do it. All we can do is point the way, and the real doctor is within. Only their body can heal itself, but they have to give it the building blocks and remove the obstacles. You do the detoxing and the juicing and the colon cleansing and liver flushes and all of that.
Supplements and the not doing certain things when you want to.
But it works.
Um,
So do you want to open up to any questions
yeah, if anybody has a
in the
question,
chat? If you
yeah,
want to
put it
put
in the
questions in the
chat.
chat.
Yeah, and we'll be happy to answer that. Any questions you might have. One other thing I just wanted to mention, we just showed you this, like the different meridians, and we can follow a problem all the way through in many areas. And sometimes this is important for naysayers to understand, that they have a certain situation. Let's just take the stomach there for example, because we looked at that, that there's like the meridian that moves certain place along the whole body. There oftentimes will be symptoms along that area. Either this a symptom with the muscle itself, a twitch, a glitch. There
A
could be
lesion.
a lesion, a rash, moles, pimples, uh, a problem, outbreak, something or many things. A lot of times along those meridians. So those are one thing that stand out. Then the teeth. We showed you the pictures of the teeth. So you say, well, do you have fillings in those teeth? There's spots on the ears that relate to it that are tender. There's spots. You can actually see like in an iridology chart, the different little lesions or specks or spots in the iris of the eye. It's right there. Many different maps of the body that you can track through. And then again, we showed you all the different muscles. If you learn kinesiology or applied kinesiology, you can learn to test those muscles and then do something, give somebody a nutrient or to make a correction, and then you test the muscle again and it's strong. That goes a long way with helping people understand those associations.
We have a question. My low back is killing me. Any remedy? What we found is the most common cause of low back pain is tight psoas muscles. Psoas muscles are in your pelvic area. They actually go through the pelvis but don't attach to it. If you did a straight-legged sit-up, those are the muscles that flex your hips, make you sit up. There's one on each side, a right and a left. They both attach to the front anterior part of the lumbar discs, and then they go to each femur on the other end. So when you are in a stressful situation, they're muscles of the fight or flight response. They tighten and torque your body and prepare you to fight or run. So when you got that phone in your pocket and you're under the junk lighting, you got other forms of stress that makes those tighten up, and it pulls forward, pulls the lumbar disc forward and gives you low back pain. It jams the femur into the hip socket and gives you hip pain a lot of times, or both. And so you have to understand that and release those before you try to, if you're going to do an adjustment or something, you don't want to be fighting the body to try to, you create more pain and inflammation. So magnesium is really helpful to, because muscles need magnesium to relax. Just getting the person in a more resourceful state to relax. And you can rub reflexes if you go lateral to the umbilicus, 1 inch out on either side, and rub.
Go out an inch from your belly button, I'm saying.
And rub those, the kind of deep reflexes, just like back and forth with your fingers. That turns on the parasympathetic nerve flow to that associated organ. So when you're in fight or flight, parasympathetic's turned off, right? That breaker trips and you're in sympathetic dominance, which is making you fight or flight, puts you in that sympathetic dominance mode. So you got to change that. You can do that with these reflexes. Anytime you rub a reflex, you're going to bring more parasympathetic to that associated organ.
So it's going to kind
So
of
then you
flush
get
it through the
those to
toilet.
relax, and then you can find out where subluxations are, if there's any, and correct those. Yeah, it's a real easy thing anybody can do for themselves, is just rub on those. Anytime you feel stressed out, and you got to get the phones away from the body, and the Bluetooth hearing aids and the fitness watches and all that crap off your body, because they're going to make your body react. Or someone else coming near you with the device on them, you're going to get their secondhand radiation, just like secondhand cigarette smoke. And your body's going to go into that same reaction. So that's we found is the most common cause of low back pain.
So getting out of fight or flight, you can rub those reflexes, which as Robert mentioned, it helps to like drain the lymphatics and increase blood flow and circulation to that area by doing that. You can put topical magnesium. I like the one from Ancient Minerals. The magnesium gel is the strongest. The sprays and the lotion aren't as strong. And you can put it on a little patch, like a little 2x2 or 4x4 gauze pad, like a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of it, and put it right on the low back. Just slap that right on like a little patch. And it takes about 20 minutes to fully be absorbed. That will oftentimes help. You can take an Epsom salt bath, put several cups of Epsom salts, which is magnesium sulfate. It'll help relax the body. Make sure that there's not a phone in your pocket affecting that. Those are some definite helpfulness helpful things for low back pain, any pain, but the low back is what we just
And
pointed
then the
out there.
question,
Yeah.
is it possible to grow more cartilage? Yes. Um, One of the most important nutrients is copper to, especially for rebuilding connective tissue. And talk some more about that with the nutrients to rebuild your connective tissue.
Well, I like, making sure that you have the raw nutrients for cartilage, making sure you have the building blocks for making collagen, which can help make cartilage, the connective tissue, so you can have cartilage um, broken down. You can have collagen
Gelatin,
in the powdered form. That's what I was trying to think of, the powdered form. Gelatin, real vitamin C, not ascorbic acid, um, to help give the body the building blocks to grow the cartilage. I also like some supplements from Standard Process. I like Ligaplex 1 and 2 because they contain a lot of the different nutrients that the body could use to make more cartilage and tendons.
the biggies are copper, magnesium, and vitamin A. You need the vitamin A as retinol, the real vitamin A, not the plant-based beta carotene, but the retinol to allow copper to work, to put copper into the transport molecule ceruloplasmin. So you got to have all those: magnesium, copper, vitamin A. Those are the biggies.
And the vitamin A is the whole vitamin A. It's not the beta carotene vitamin A,
Right.
which you talked about last few weeks.
So you can get that from cod liver oil,
Liver,
got
eggs,
real vitamin A and real vitamin D. The vitamin D people
butter.
take as a supplement creates more inflammation in the body. It's actually the storage version of vitamin D. It's not the active form. So it's the wrong form to take. Just go out in the sun, take your hat off and get some sun and stop being afraid of it. And build up slowly, build up a solar callus. But you need the actinic rays of the sun to convert the cholesterol in your skin into the active form of D.
Another question. What is your take on urine therapy?
Urine therapy?
Urine therapy.
Yeah.
You're in the club.
Well, we've practiced that and it's very powerful. Um, when other things don't work with people, we recommend that. And usually that can make things start to turn around. Urine is sterile. It's full of nutrients, full of stem cells. You can actually store your urine and ferment it and increase the stem cell count like 100,
100 times or
100,000
more.
times more. It's like incredible.
Depends on how
But
long it's fermented.
yeah, there's thousands of nutrients in the urine that, and it's not, don't think of it as waste, think of it as excess in the body. So a lot of the things you're getting are in a water soluble form. They've been pre-processed so your body can utilize them better. But yeah, don't be afraid of it.
It's like your body's inner pharmacy.
We have a chapter in on our website on urine therapy, urotherapy, we call it. Let's check that out. TwoBrosHealing.online. Put that in the chat.
Another question. Can you talk about COPD?
Right, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. That's a challenge. People, their lung tissue breaks down and they can get the air in, but they can't get it out because their airways collapse. And they have to do like pursed lip breathing for exhalation to create a back pressure to keep the airways open. And often they're on supplemental oxygen. A lot of it can be turned around with getting the body in better shape, raising the CO2 level of the body through restricted breathing, purposefully raising the CO2, which will cause more oxygen to be released from the hemoglobin, and you get more tissue oxygenation by having the CO2 higher. And when you breathe too fast, you breathe off too much carbon dioxide. That's called hyperventilation. And that makes the hemoglobin hold on to the oxygen. So that's another thing you can do for that.
Like you said, getting
Avoid
the bladder in
mucus-forming foods,
better shape.
like especially dairy. A lot of people can't handle dairy if they've got lung issues like that. But rebounding can help, building endurance, and then it's pumping the lymphatic system, the central vacuum cleaning system of the body, 16 to 20 times more than any other exercise. And it's the safest exercise known to science. So they can do that, build up their endurance, stationary bikes, things like that. Sometimes they have to have supplemental O2 at first while they're building up their endurance. But yeah, there's a lot that can be done. I used to do pulmonary rehab actually years ago when I worked for the medical pharmaceutical killing machine.
Mhm. And as
Any
you
other
mentioned, you can
questions?
get your body in better shape. Anybody can do that with anything at any time. You can always improve your water that you're drinking. Get it as clean as you can. You can always improve the quality of your food, trying to get more local, organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised foods. I really like the Weston A. Price Foundation. There's local chapters. They list if you get, sign up for their year membership, you get the quarterly magazines, which are excellent articles. You'll get the local list of where you're at, different people, farms, communities, whatever, you want to know who's butchering good chickens, who has organic food, who's selling local honey. There's a lot of lists of connecting people so you can support local community and have more healthy inputs in our food and not, we have to take measures to get off of big agriculture, big pharma. Um, and this is all part of it. Exercising, detoxing, cleansing your body, it goes a long way with everything that we can get into.
I put a PDF copy of my latest book on carbon dioxide in the chat. So
I don't see it yet.
it's in the chat.
Yeah,
Scroll down to the bottom.
I did. I just see the Two Rose Healing got
Oh,
online.
there it is.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Any other
All right.
questions? It's about time to wind it down.
Yeah.
Um,
All
so
right. So I
people a
hope
chance
we've
to.
shed a little bit of light on this. Again, look, for different answers for your body. It can go both ways. If you're feeling frustrated, you can treat the organ and it will come back. If you're feeling like you need to treat the symptom, then it can go back toward the organ. All of these different things also when things come up and we're dealing with the emotion, one of the things that we do is to help people say, well, who does this belong to? And it's usually somebody in our environment that's just resonating that. And we could just gently send that back with love. It's like, this is not mine. You recognize it's not yours. And it takes the stress, a lot of it off of you. And we have to comb over these things that we sometimes get without our knowledge. These things come in and stick on us, but helping the body by giving it ample food, ample good water, good restful sleep, sunshine, infrared light, love, care, compassion, a place to heal. Goes
Can't
on
go
and
wrong.
goes on and on. All right. Do you have anything else you want to mention?
I don't.
Good. All
Thank
right.
you all for
Thank
joining
you.
our podcast. I hope to see you next week.
Bye for now.